let's look at DHEA in the scope of clinical application, or a patient applying a program into their life and what that means for their health. So first of all, we would never just do one thing. Like, this is sort of the reality of studies. The studies are amazing because they can help to really break things down and give us some really interesting data on one or two specific things and how those things are applied to, say, in this case, one's health, and what are the outcomes. Was there mild benefit? Was there moderate? Was there maximal benefit? And you can look for a topic and find five different studies sort of sharing slightly different results, and it can be totally overwhelming. And so I think this is like that. There's a beauty in that, in the sense that maybe the data is not conclusive, or maybe you can cherry pick and go, well, I found some really good stuff here, so I'm just gonna focus on the good, or the opposite of that. Obviously that can happen too. But this is the beauty of a clinical practice, because you're not just doing the one thing, right? So we're going to address someone's diet, we're going to address someone's stress factors, someone's lifestyle, someone's mindset, how they're moving, how they're eating, how they're sleeping, and there's many levers to pull in someone's health to help to discover that it's never just one thing. And so the studies can elucidate some certain things for us, but usually in practice we're pulling a bunch of different levers that together there's going to be synergy. And so I think that there's huge value in taking that information. But this is something we tell all our patients, is that as much benefit as we do get out of studies, we get maybe just as much benefit of hearing patient stories, of hearing what people did, and sort of laying out all the criteria that would have allowed for a response to be positive or negative. And then we get to take all that information on a daily basis of the thousands of people that we get to work with, and apply that information to each new individual that we see. And it becomes this like library of information of clinical relevance that I think is important for that individual, because we can see how things or correlate with certain individuals, and how that might resemble patients from our past that might show up with similar circumstances. So we're constantly, as doctors, filtering all this information through that history, as we all do. I'm just talking about how this is applied into a clinical practice. And so when we're looking at things like DHEA, we want to look at all these different axes of influence that are going to contribute to someone's health, and hopefully help to build up this adrenal resilience in the body. And on this discussion, if it's not clear from our previous talks, is that it's often more about what you take out, right, than it is what you put in. And so asking, I go back to the Hippocratic, not the Hippocratic Oath. Well, I'd go back there too. First, do no harm, amongst other things. But one of my favorite Hippocrates quotes is, before you heal someone, ask if he's willing to give up the things that made him sick. And that was very gender specific back in the day. But, before you heal someone, ask if they are willing to give up the things that make them sick. And that's a reality, because if we're going to get so focused on adding things in and becoming very additive in our approach, we can sometimes get lost of like, oh, I stacked all these things together, why didn't I get the outcome that I needed? Well, it's because you're not going to bed on time, man, or because you're drinking alcohol every night, or there's lingering toxins, you haven't addressed your heavy metals in your mouth, get an infection in your gut. So why would you think that you're going to get an extra benefit of adding these things in? So we want to be subtractive as well as additive in our approach. And this is what we talk about, pulling different levers, right? We want to address your gut health and your brain health and your sleep rhythm and your relationships and your hormones. We want to try to dance with you in as much of these different areas as possible, and the individual sitting in front of us is going to be the gauge with, as to what they're able to take on, right? We want to always be able to meet someone where they are, not just give them a big shove and say, you need to be over there, and if you're not, I can't work with you. No, like we all work through things at our own pace, right? So what are the simplest levers to pull? What are as many supportive tools that we can add in to support the process? And I say to people else all the time, it's like, if you're gonna add something new into your lifestyle, like, what are you willing to get rid of? Like, what are you willing to sacrifice? If you're gonna add something in, you have to take something out. And so I use the analogy of like furniture. I know we're guilty of this. We used to live in a small townhouse, And not that our house is much bigger now, but we had to move out of the city because rates for larger homes in Vancouver is ridiculous for a young family. So we moved to the beautiful burbs and are happy where we are. But at the time when we were living in Vancouver, we kept having to get new storage units to put more of our stuff in because we had went from one kid to two kids, and so we had like more furniture scattered around our place. So it looked ridiculous. That it was really hard to live in that minimalist type of life when, you know, kids come into your life. And so the message really was, you got to get rid of stuff before you can put new furniture in your house, you know. But we're all guilty of this. We're like, oh, I need something to store this extra crap I have, right? So let's get another cabinet, let's get another, you know, dresser. You know, we keep adding things into our homes, and then our homes feel cluttered, we feel overwhelmed, right? It's affecting us on a daily basis, and we're doing that with our health. The next probiotic, oh, this probiotic's gonna be amazing, or this fish oil is gonna be incredible, or this new supplement for my brain is gonna be amazing. We keep thinking about what we can add in, or that new, you know, that new gym just opened up, I need to get another membership because the one at the CrossFit's not doing enough for me. You know, whatever the issue is, we're so additive in our approach, which, you know, at least we're doing something. But while we're on this journey, can we subtract some stuff? And so looking through the lens of DHEA, being that it's an adrenal hormone, it's responding to the stress. So if we can pull stresses out, then we can build our reserve, right? And without just adding things in that stimulate it and adding things in that replace it, right? And so getting subtractive as well as additive in approach, I think is important. So it could go on and on, as you can see, and I'm grateful for you guys tuning in right to the end. I think this is an important conversation that obviously we're talking about DHA, but it's going to cross over to many different things in your life. But looking through the lens of the adrenal system is so important because the adrenals are constantly working for us, and they're either working for us because we're pushing the right buttons at the right time with the right force, or they're overworking. And we're really starting to see the effects of a dysregulated hormonal system and a massively depleted, you know, androgenic system or anabolic system. And what's the effect of that over a long period of time, right?